Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about what is actually quite, for some people, a difficult part of management. What we're going to talk about today is disciplinary procedures, and we're also going to talk about correcting poor performance. Now, we say it's a difficult part. A lot of managers at work come to me when we do our seminars on leadership and management and say this is very difficult for them because it's part of their job that they fear most. Actually giving negative feedback to somebody whose either work performance or behaviour is understanded. And one of the key things that we do in our seminars is to teach people the right way, the right processes, and more importantly, the right procedures to be able to manage this key area of performance, behaviour, and if it leads to a disciplinary process, making sure that they do it correctly. One of the main reasons why employment tribunals are lost by organisations is because a lack of process and procedure has been evident in an industrial tribunal. Now, if you have no record of any process procedure in relation to discipline procedures within employees for behavioural performance, then I unfortunately would say that you probably would lose an industrial tribunal. Now, what do? If we're going to start a process of discipline, if we're going to talk to somebody about their performance, if we're going to manage somebody's performance, then you've got to think about, well, what scenarios, what situations would this be applicable? Let me give you a couple we've got here. First one is, second time you have to speak to one of your team because their records, to get their records to complete your monthly reports. Now this is not only about performance, but it's also about behaviour. Second time, they've not done what you've asked them to do. There is a consequence for you not doing it. So what action do you take? And you have to make a choice in this. Do you take a formal approach or an informal approach? Well, another scenario is you've noticed that a member of your team has used the internet for a couple of times this morning for social networking during core hours. Now this is something which is prevalent throughout the UK and probably the rest of the world as well. What do you do when somebody who's breaking rules but not necessarily breaking core elements of standards and behaviour? How do you handle this situation? Well, one of the things we say is, and again come back to the first scenario, do you take an informal approach or a formal approach? Now we always advise people, we suggest people to take an informal approach first. If it's a smaller, lighter occasion, you might want to just what we call nip it in the bud, addressing problems informally. Now there are a number of things that you need to be able to do if you're going to do this effectively. And the informal approach means that you're now addressing a situation before it becomes a major situation. Number one on the informal approach, make sure all of your employees know all of the rules, all the standards by which you would determine or deem their behaviour or performance as standard. Which means letting people know what the rules are. Don't expect people to follow the rules if they've not been explained and not been explained to them by email, by meetings, or part of their induction process. Number two, don't hesitate. One of the things that, for a smaller misdemeanour, it's easy to sort of go, well, it was only a one-off. One of the things which, if it's a one-off, fine, but if it becomes twice, then you need to think about, do I take action on this? And when we talk about nip it in the bud, it's not bringing somebody into a room, it's mentioning something so that the person is aware that you are aware of their behaviour. Could be something like timekeeping. Number three, take away the blame. Let's look at the area of timekeeping. Phrases such as, it's not like you to be late, is there something I need to know? Normally I set my watch by your time. So what these phrases do, they take away the blame of telling somebody off. And phrases such as, you probably weren't made aware, I haven't really emphasised this. Little phrases like that, take the blame away, allow you to actually talk about something and find out if there's something actually that you need to know. Number four, address the misdemeanour, but again, don't turn it into a big issue. By bringing something to somebody's attention, by making sure that people are understanding of your standards and your understanding of their particular situations, then you can nip things in the bud very quickly, very easily. Number 5 is, if you're meeting with a certain level of resistance, make sure that the employee understands the consequence of their action. Somebody coming in 5-10 minutes late every day may not see that it affects the way in which work is started, the schedules which are given out, the agendas which are created at the beginning of the day. So let somebody know why something is worth bringing to their attention, so that they can see that there is a consequence to their action. When somebody acknowledges that, oh yes, I see that now, then they're much more likely to form part of the battle plan. And what you want to do is get them to acknowledge their part in what we call the solution part of it. If you can say to them, okay, so what should we do about this? How can we help? What will you be able to do more effectively in the future? How will we change things? Get them to suggest ways in which they can change things. And the last one, number 7, is once you've spoken to somebody about something, don't let it fester. Don't leave it lingering. Get back into work mode very quickly. Very quickly. Remember, no matter how the situation you've taken it, whether it's a light or serious situation, you're working together after that. So, and you may be working in close proximity. So get into work mode as quickly as you've addressed it. Say something like, okay, well, I know I've had to mention it. I'm sure you understand. Anyway, how are we getting on with that? Or what have we got on later on tomorrow? Oh, the meeting this afternoon, are you prepared for it? So get back into work mode. That way people can see that you're not having a go at them. It's just something you've mentioned, it's something you want to address, and you have addressed it. And one of the key things I always say as a manager or a leader, when you address something, proverbially give yourself a little pat on the back that you've not let something become a habit or a part of somebody's behaviour that after a while it's difficult.